Hi everyone, Hannah here. I'm going to do my learning walk through my inclement weather unit. So to get started, the structure of mine is kind of asynchronous. You can get on and do the lessons whenever best suits your schedule. As I did that though, it brought up a lot of questions in my head, which I guess kind of answers one of the questions down the line, so I'm sure I'll repeat myself at some point. I don't see my students every day. I have a set amount of time in their IEP that I see them a month, and then I kind of divide it out week by week. So most students I see 60 minutes a week, and that breaks down into two 30-minute sessions. And they're never back-to-back days. I never see a student like Monday and see them again on Tuesday. I really have them divided up. So it kind of made me question how I had this set up. But for the sake of the class, I kind of just did it 3 consecutive days. But in reality, it might look more like 3 sessions, which I'm not sure how that would actually look. But I guess that's another question that if this would come into actual play, that my supervisor would support me with, and we would work with the school district that I'm providing the service for to figure out how to best provide the service when needed. All that said, I'm going to start talking about the QM rubric. The first thing on the rubric that really stuck out to me was the course overview, intro, and kind of the instructions. So looking at my Schoology page, you can see right here, digital agenda, look at me first. And that kind of sets the stage for everything that the students are going to be doing. And my digital agenda is set up. I actually sold this from my husband. He used this, and I actually use it in my groups. I do some Schoology groups, and I use it there. So I just kind of, my students are familiar with it, or at least the ones that I use the group with are. So it's set up different though, obviously for days instead of just like one 30-minute time period. So they know where to reach me at, and it's broken up by days. So day 1, I have the objective listed under there as well. And I pulled, my goal was right from an IEP goal that I use. It's not a goal that all my students have currently, but it's a goal that they had at one point. So I kind of use this with the thought of it's a skill they all kind of need. Any student actually, and there's not a student on the spectrum, reviewing expectations and good behaviors and how the behaviors make people feel, as well as consequences, is an important skill to have. So day 1 just kind of focuses on identifying the behaviors. Day 2 focuses on the perspective taking. How does this behavior make people feel, and what do they think when they see the behavior, or what do I think when I see the behavior? Not all my students have major behaviors, but we kind of work on, what's your perspective on it? And what's the appropriate way to handle our perspective instead of maybe calling out and pointing it out to the class. We kind of just worry about ourselves. We can have some thoughts about it and we move on. And then day 3 is a focus on consequences of the behavior. So under that, for each day, it kind of tells you exactly what you're going to be doing and where to find the materials. So that is one of the things from the rubric that stuck out to me. Another thing that stuck out was the learning objective. Obviously, I just said they were on my digital agenda. Next thing, the assessments and measurement. So I have the prior knowledge assessment, which I have them taking day 1, and then all the activities kind of assess their skill, where they're at, what they understand, what they don't. And like I said, it's not a goal all my students have. So I probably wouldn't give a grade for any of this. It would just kind of be kind of an informal check to see where I need to go with my instruction and what I need to tweak or review with my students or really focus on if this is one of their goals. I don't give A, B, C, D, or F's. I work with IEP goals. So I use rubrics. And my students I use the rubric and they get progress reports for me. And so that was another thing that I kind of struggled with, not necessarily giving that letter grade or grading all of this. It would just be kind of more informal and a review. Instructional materials. I have materials listed in all of these. I have for days 1 and 3, I also have a conversation starter. Conversation skills are a big thing that I work on with my students. So for 2 of the days, 1 and 3, I have a starter in there. But my materials, I have a lot of Word documents or worksheets that I have in here. Pull it up and just show it. Looking at pictures, identifying if it's expected or unexpected, why. I might have one student tell me this is expected and be able to say it, like, they're changing classes. I might have another student say, well, like, why are they in the hallway? Well, maybe that girl's on her cell phone in her locker. And if they can tell me why they think it's unexpected, I'll give them the points. So we have some pictures there. And then I also go on to some YouTube videos. A lot of my instruction is looking at pictures or watching videos or role playing and talking about behaviors and how they feel. So they're used to, I try to make it stuff that they're used to. And day 2, the materials are kind of working on a comic. This is something I've done with most of my students. They have a lot of fun with it. They go on this website, they make a comic, and their comic has to have so much stuff in it. So I think for this one I have it set at might have 2 expected behaviors, 1 unexpected, and then a reminder. The facial expressions and the thought bubbles need to match what's going on around them. Day 3, I have some worksheets. I use a program, it's called Everyday Speech. They have videos on there, a lot of video modeling. They have games and they have worksheets. So I have 2 of those worksheets in here that they'll work on, and this is about the consequences. The materials are all age appropriate. Another thing that I did for this unit is the majority of my students are 6th through 8th grade. I do have 2 4th graders. So I probably wouldn't give them the same materials, but for the matter of this assignment, I just kind of focused on my older students, and everything that I posted is appropriate for a 6th grader, 7th grader, and an 8th grader. Honestly, I think my 4th graders, it would be appropriate as well, and they'd be able to answer all the questions and show me what they know and do it well. Learner interaction and engagement also stuck out to me. The requirements are listed kind of back to the digital agenda, and each day has a folder, so they kind of need to work through everything in the folder as well. Technology, I think the technology really supports the learning. I'm not just using technology to use it. The videos, the pictures, it all works well, and helps them learn and review the skills that they know. Learner support. This is something that I never really thought about, because when I do use Schoology in my class, I never give my students homework. So I'm kind of sitting right there as they work on their Schoology. But on my digital agenda, I put in here how to reach me, so you can message me on Schoology or email me, and put my work email there. And then I also have it here again, how to get in touch with me. And then I also have a help discussion board. So if they have any questions, we just post them there. And one thing that I work on with a lot of my students is problem solving. So I encourage, if this were what we were doing, I would encourage all of them to check it and help each other problem solve as the day went on. If they were on and saw that there was a new post there, check it out. See if you can help the person out. For some of the standards, I had a few that really stuck out to me. I'm going to touch on 2 of them. And it was standard H, so the assignments meet the learning goals. I kind of just tweaked assignments I had or pictures I had and converted it more into something they could do independently. Instead of me putting them up on the board or me having them on my laptop and just talking through them, I converted it to kind of having that Word document, and they could just answer the questions through. Standard I, using the data to modify content and guide student learning. Like I mentioned, I would use all of this information and what they produced for me to guide future instruction. For some of my students that might have already had the goal, if they did really bad, it might be something I need to revisit with them. Or if some of my students currently have the goal, they do really well with all this, maybe I need to make it a little more difficult and see where that line is that they need the instruction at. Assessment, as I mentioned, I had the pre-assessment, I have the worksheets, I had the comic, and like I said, not giving a grade, just the informal. I'd check it out and make sure we were still understanding the skill. Student reactions, I ran this with one of my 6th graders and a group of my 8th graders. And my 8th graders I used the group that I use Schoology with, and they did really well. They understood what to do, and I was sitting right there with them for the days, and it was funny because normally their instinct is to come and ask me questions, even when we're doing like the station rotation and they know they're not supposed to come up and interrupt me while I'm working one-on-one with the student. They didn't have any questions today. That made me feel good that they were able to problem solve and kind of get through it on their own. They seem to really like it. The comic is always a super fun thing that all my students love, and that's where they spent the most time. I think some of them, since I'm only 30-minute sessions, some of them, the 3rd day we worked on this, came back and were like, I need 5 more minutes to finish. So they needed more time, whereas at home they could kind of take as long as they needed. So there was that. Appraise, I think it shows what it would give me the information I wanted. It would be a nice little review for some students, and some students that are having trouble with this skill, it might take a little longer. So I think I would get good information out of it. It would show me what I'm looking for. Something I want to polish is maybe how my Schoology course looks. It is not very pretty on the eyes. I know in my other Schoology course, I've used Bitmoji in the past and have some pictures of myself on there, made it a little more personable. So I think that's something that I would look for, just kind of the appearance, making it look a little better for the eyes. Lots of things arose that I pondered upon, and one of those was, how would this really, really work for my sessions? And like I mentioned, it wouldn't be something that I could answer. It would be something that I would have the support from my supervisor and the school district, and we'd kind of have to work together. I have brought this up to my supervisor's attention, maybe using Schoology and doing some online stuff with my students, and she's been very supportive of it. She's kind of let me take free reign on it, where I do my groups and have some of them on the computer and some of them I'm working face-to-face. I would probably be able to see a lot more students on my caseload if we could convert to something along these lines. But with that said, I think I would need to do video. I think I would need to have meeting times that I met with my students. We met face-to-face. I would not expect my students to be able to do all of their instruction like this. And I would not, for some of them, I don't think they are motivated enough to sit here at a computer and get it done. I think we need to be face-to-face, and there needs to be the prompting and the working side by side. But it's all a work in progress, and something I'm going to continue to work on. Thanks for watching.